Good morning guys, welcome back to another episode of Bareham Engines. So guys, this Cosworth here, this is the one that we've had sitting over there. When it came into us, it had just a block, just a cylinder head with the cams in. It had no valves, springs, all the rest of it. No crank, rods, pistons, anything like that, and no ancillary parts. So we've had to basically make an engine up, minus the sump, minus the rocker cover, because the customer's got that, and he's also got the manifolds, like I've explained to you in previous videos. So we've got to the point now where I've spoke to the customer. I said, look, this is where we are with it, because these sort of jobs run away with you. It's all right them saying over the phone and via email, look, yeah, crack on, do this, get that, get this. But everything is just getting so hard to buy for these Cosworths. People don't really understand. I hate making these engines up from scratch, having to buy all the little bits. So we've had to buy the pulleys, we've had to buy, it's silly things, just like the bearings in the back of the cam housings here. Well, fortunately, Burton started doing these front crank seal covers, but the seal cover there behind this front pulley, crankshafts are extortionate money. Fortunately, like I said to you before, we had those H-section con rods in there, sitting in the drawer, which the customer didn't use in the end because they were the wrong stroke. We've obviously bought new standard Marler pistons with our pockets in, things like that. You know, we've bought brand new valves we can still get hold of. Springs are hard to get hold of. Spring tops, spring bases in the cylinder head, absolute rocking horse poo. But we've managed to get everything. Little bits like this, fortunately, you know, like the Woodruff keys, the bolts, all these shims you can get from Burton. So that is a godsend, really. Burton are great for little things like that for the Fords. But the point I'm putting across here for this, I've spoke to the customer. He said, well, I would like the engine basic like that, but timed up. So all we've got to do is bolt the bits on. I said, that's fair enough, but I'm just going to have to search for all these little bits, like the jack shaft we never had, the jack shaft locating plate with the bolts. Absolute nightmare trying to get hold of all that. Managed to get it all in the end, so we're just about to time it up, guys. And now, the one problem I've run into, here we've got the tensioner thread hole here. So what goes in there is, there's your tensioner. You've got the round side there that sits against the head face, and you've got the hex on the front side, which obviously you can adjust and hold with a spanner. We've then got the proper nut that goes on the front of the tensioner. Okay, so that sits like that. And the stud obviously goes into the hole. Now the stud is here in my stud extractor. As you can see, the thread is fairly clean now, so that is a new stud, believe it or not. But this is one reason why it doesn't matter if they've had any issues before, we always take those studs out, because I took the old stud out, I put the new stud in, the thread looked fine in there. So we've basically screwed that in, tightened that stud up. I did all the timing, put the tensioner on there, went to tighten it up. So what you do is you use an 1/16 inch spanner holding the tensioner. So that will hold the back nut, and this front nut is a 1-inch spanner. So what you do is you turn clockwise that tensioner until the bout is tightened as much as you can or want, and then you tighten up that nut with the 1-inch spanner. Now, this is where the problem lies. So I always do them up. You hold the back spanner. You sort of, because it's eccentric, you sort of move that tension around to get it where you want, and then you tighten that front nut. Now, when I was tightening the front nut, to anyone that didn't really know the feeling or what it should feel, it tightens up to almost, you think, yeah, I don't want to pull it anymore, but there's a slight bit of spring in it. Now, the way to tell on it, if it's starting to pull the threads, is when you've done it up as much as you can, if you then loose the back spanner holding the tensioner and then just slightly move the front, the whole lot will move. The tensioner will still move. Now, what that is doing is that's pulling that stud out of that thread. It's ripping the thread out. So easy done, guys, and we've seen it before where people have put heads on or built these motors and then the belt goes, or it just, the tensioner just lets go, belt goes, bends all the valves. Absolute nightmare. So 9 times out of 10, guys, we just helicoil these and get them sorted. So here's our helicoil system. So this is an M10 by 1.5 pitch. So what that means, the way you tell that, is you measure with a vernier across these flats, and it should measure 10 mil if it's an M10. And the pitch is the distance between one thread to the next. So if you measured that, that would be 1.5 mil. That's a 1.5 mil pitch. The way we do it is we just measure across there, see what it measures, 10 mil, and then we get a 10 mil taplet, and if you put the thread next to that or onto that, see that? It matches up. So that's M10 by 1.5. So what we're going to do, guys, we're going to helicoil this. So we've got the tapping drill for the M10 by 1.5 pitch helicoil kit. We're going to drill this out now. We're going to drill it out by hand. You've got to basically get it right. It's got to be at 90 degrees to the cylinder head that way and also that way. So you've got to be very, very careful how you do that. We're going to drill that old thread out, or what's left of it, and then we're going to use the 2 taps. We've got a starter tap here. So you see that's got a very, very long leading edge on it. We're going to use that tap, and then we're going to put in the finishing tap, and then we're going to put the helicoil in. So we've got the bag of helicoils here. These come at these are about 20 mil long, these ones. But what we do is we shorten it to the length we want to shorten it. And the way we do that is we just cut coils off from the end of the old coil. And we do that with these snips here. So I've cut about 3 coils off that, and that is probably going to be ideal length for what we want. We want it to go right to the back of that thread, so we're using as many threads as we can with that stud. So we're going to get this done, guys. I'm going to drill this now by hand. As you can see in there is not much left of those threads in there. So first of all, we'll just cover up as much as we can of anything underneath so it doesn't fall in the belt or anywhere else. So that'll be more than adequate. And now what we're going to do, we're going to start it probably drilling about 2 or 3 mil in, making sure that it is 90 degrees to the head this way. And then we're going to look down the head there and just make sure that drill is not going either up or down. And then we're going to go fastly so it doesn't snatch. And that's gone right to the back of the cylinder head there. You can see that. We can't drill any further. We don't want to drill any further into there. So that is absolutely fine. Now what we're going to do, we're going to use our starter tap, and we're going to go a little bit at a time into that hole with the wrench, doing the same thing, looking from the side, looking from this direction, and just making sure that that is 90 degrees to that face. Okay, you don't want it like this. We don't want it like that. We want it absolutely square to that face. So we've got our tap wrench here with the tap in the end, nice and secured. So we're going to start it off looking down this way. Just go round about enough so it just grabs the tap, and we're going to go this way. Now you can see that's starting to go downwards slightly. So if we just lift that up and make sure, give it another turn, and just make sure that that is square now. Now we'll go another turn in here, and we just keep going backwards and forwards, just doing a turn at a time, just making sure. And then after about 3 or 4 turns, that leading edge is going to start pulling it straight anyway. So that is absolutely fine. So we'll just continue to tap that. So we just wind this tap back. We've got this tap sort of lightly coated in cutting grease, cutting compound. That's why you can see all the aluminium swarf is stuck to the tap. So we're just going now with the finishing tap. There we go. So it's bottomed out now. So we've got a fully formed thread in there now. We blew the hole out with an airline, and now we're going to insert the helicoil. So just being very, very careful when you start these threads. Just wind it in very, very carefully, and as I say, it should give you that sort of light, springy, slightly hesitant feeling when you're winding it in. And you do it until that last coil goes just below the surface. And we've probably got about a thread at the end there to just knock the tag out. So we've blew the tag out now. We're just going to wind the stud in there. Put a little bit of thread lock on there. This is not a real heavy duty thread lock. Wind that in. We get a wrench here and just nip that in there until it bottoms out on the, and there we go guys, all done, and that is in there, proper job now. So hopefully now when I put the tensioner on and tension this belt up, we get a nice firm feeling on that nut. And then, as I say, the test is always take the back spanner off that is holding the tensioner, just go to move the nut and it should be absolutely solid, and that will not go anywhere. Well, thanks ever so much for watching guys. Until another episode, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will see you again on another episode. Cheers guys. Well, thanks ever so much for watching guys. Until another episode, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we will see you again on another episode. Cheers guys.